It has been nearly 6 years since NASA's space shuttle program ended, and since then NASA has relied on Russia to get American astronauts into space. But that is all about to change, and astronauts will once again be launching from our Space Coast.
A new space race is heating up.
I'm extremely excited about the opportunity to serve the country once again.
Astronauts soaring to new heights on commercial vehicles. But how did we get here?
Lift off.
The last time NASA flew astronauts on an American ship was back in July 2011. It was Shuttle Atlantis. On board for that historic flight, Douglas Hurley. He is one of 4 astronauts NASA selected to fly on the first commercial space flight. Since that final shuttle mission, NASA has relied on the Russians to get us into space.
The Russians have been great partners, but it's important for the United States to have its own launch capability, not only for the foreseeable future, but beyond.
Now we're on the cusp of a new era. American astronauts flying on spacecraft built in America by American companies. NASA has selected 2 companies, and both are simultaneously working on their crafts, Boeing and SpaceX. Here's how the race looks right now. SpaceX is scheduled to test their unmanned vehicle in November. They hope to put astronauts on board in May of 2018. Boeing hopes to run an unmanned test in June 2018, and with astronauts on board 2 months later. All these flights will launch from Florida's Space Coast and will make a trip to the space station.
I'm more excited about the space industry today than I have been since I've had this job.
Boeing has agreed to use Johnson Space Center's mission control in Houston, but SpaceX will operate out of California.
Concepts that we have today, it's very easy to build a control center and operate with today's technology, so you could put it just about anywhere.
George Abbey is now a fellow at Rice's Baker Institute. He used to serve as the director of the Johnson Space Center.
Things have changed quite a bit, and NASA in Houston isn't really in the prime role it used to have.
But Johnson still has all the expertise in training the astronauts.
As we look to the future, we would want to keep training the astronauts here.
While private companies are working to get astronauts to the space station, NASA has even loftier goals: human exploration of Mars. Recently, those plans were added to federal legislation President Trump signed, a law that also includes more than $19 billion in funding.
This nation is ready to be the first in space once again. Today, we're taking the initial steps toward a bold and bright new future for American space flight.
The fact that the President signed the First Authorization Act since 2010 sends a very strong message that space is important not only to this community, but to the entire nation.
And for more information on these spacecrafts that are being developed, just head to clickorlando.com and find it right there on the homepage. A lot of very exciting stuff happening in our backyard.